Alright guys, so the Project Eris Desktop App has finally arrived, and in this video I'm going to show you guys exactly what you need to do to get it set up and to customize your PlayStation Classic on Project Eris. This is Steve from Restalgia, and let's get started. Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, please consider going down, hitting that red button and subscribing. It really helps out a lot. And if you are looking for additional ways to help support the channel, a really good way is to shoot on down into the description or even just below the description and grab some Restalgia merch. I've got a bunch of different designs, and it's also a nice way for you guys to get something in return. So let's go ahead and get started with the Project Eris Desktop App. Now obviously I get my stuff in advance, so I've got both the desktop app as well as the latest firmware release, and it is important to note you are going to want to do the latest firmware release. And the reason for that is because there are going to be some features that are built into this new firmware that actually allow for a lot of the customization that we didn't have in my preview video about a month ago. So I won't be able to show you guys exactly where to download it, but as always, if you hop on into the description, there will be links. You click on those links, you grab the files, and you're good to go, just like with all of my other videos. So as I mentioned, first thing that we need to do is go ahead and grab the update. You'll be able to download it. It'll come in as a zip. You'll extract it. Once you extract it, you'll have a folder with these three items inside. You'll have a ROMs folder, Project Eris, and a payload folder. What you're going to want to do is make sure that your USB drive is plugged in. Mine is on the right-hand side of the screen, as you can see. We're going to go ahead and select the new files. We're going to go ahead and copy them over to our USB drive. It's going to go ahead and start calculating. This will take about a minute or so. Once it's calculated, it'll say, hey, we've got a bunch of files that are identical. Are you sure you want to override them, or do you want to replace them? The answer to that is yes. If you are running on a Mac, you need to select merge. You can't select replace. So keep that in mind. Mac is merge. Everyone else is going to replace existing files. Now, while this is transferring, I'm actually just going to go ahead and skip forward. Okay, so now that that transfer has 100% completed, we actually don't need to do anything else. We can go ahead and close this update folder. Everything's done on the USB drive. It is now prepped, so that way it's ready to start using the desktop app. So step one is to make sure that you are running the latest version of Project Eris. Step two is going to be grabbing the actual desktop app. So the desktop app is going to be actually a standalone application. Again, I don't have a website to show you guys in this video specifically, but there will be a link in the description down below for you guys to grab it. You're going to get everything the way you see it here as a pre-zipped file. You're going to extract it into its own folder, and then within its own folder, we are actually going to have everything that we need. So if you scroll down, you're going to look for a Project Eris UI.exe. That's going to be the application itself. It is standalone, and it does not require you to actually install the software directly to your computer. So they set up this application so it runs both with 32-bit and 64-bit Windows versions, so it should be compatible regardless of which version of Windows you are running. So we're just going to go ahead and double click on the Project Eris UI, and it's going to start loading up the application. And there it is. So the first thing that we're going to get right up on screen is going to be just more or less a generic welcome. It's going to give you information about wanting to install Project Eris from scratch, and it'll have how-to videos. And if you've installed Project Eris to your console and your USB is ready to go, it's going to give you some options to watch the desktop application video tutorial. I would imagine this is going to be one of the ones that they end up using. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to go through this entire desktop app. I'm going to show you guys top to bottom how to use it, how to load your games in, how to do folder management, how to load ports, and how to set up themes, and all of those things. We're going to do it in this video. But before we jump into this, I do want to mention that there is an extra feature that the Project Eris desktop app can do, and that's actually to remove or replace the internal games that are pre-built into the PlayStation Classic. This is something that a lot of people have been asking about for a long time, and they want to know, can I remove one of the games in there, or can I remove all of the games and put my own 20 games in there so long as they fit on the internal memory? And can I just walk around with my PlayStation Classic with those 20 games? And the answer to that is yes, but it's a lot more complicated, and there is some risk involved. So what I'm going to do is make a very separate video, specifically step-by-step showing you guys how to do that for anyone who's actually interested in that. And if you are interested in that, please let me know in the comment section below so I have an idea to gauge how much actual interest there is in that type of mod. Let's go ahead and get this started here. Now, the first thing that we're going to have to do is locate our drive. As you can see, there is no drive selected. We're going to go ahead and hit change drive, and it's going to give us a bunch of options. And these are going to be all the different drives that I currently have available on my PC. Now I know that my Project Eris build is my iDrive. I can actually see it right over here. I've got Sony, and then in brackets, I've got my iDrive. So once I select that, it's going to go ahead and update the game list, and it's going to start pulling all the information that it can from my build. Now it says important, detected that some game INI files are missing. Can I read the database to auto-generate them if it is possible? Existing files won't be affected. The answer to that we want to go ahead with is yes. It's going to go ahead and scan those. And now that it's scanned, it's going to actually try to pull all of those games. And as you can see, we now have a new list of games. These are going to be all the PlayStation games that were built into my carousel. So we're going to have all of our games that were preloaded onto our USB drive, and they're going to populate here, but we are going to notice that there may be some issues here. For example, Breath of Fire 4, it's got an exclamation mark in front of it saying, hey, there's an error here, something's going on. So we're going to go ahead and take a peek and see exactly what the problem is. Once you select it, it'll actually tell you the error right over in this box here. And it says, if this game doesn't run, maybe rename Breath of Fire 4 in discs and change the third letter with P for the Japanese game, U for a US game, or E for European. We are going to see that a few more times with certain games, Siphon Filter 2, Siphon Filter 3, the same sort of thing. And essentially this error is just coming from the different regions of games. So you just got to make sure that you're using the correct region game, but for the most part, we should be okay. Now there's going to be another error that we're going to see as well, and this one's going to have an asterisk that's located in front of the numbered folder. When we click on that, it's going to just tell us that we have mixed file formats for this game. And what that usually means is you've used a PBP file, but for whatever reason, it's created a Q file. So we can go ahead and select the Q file. In this case, we can remove it. Then you're going to notice that everything is fine. There's no issues detected. And we can go ahead and do that for all of these games. Now, I am going to do that really quickly off screen, but that's actually how you would solve it. Okay, so I've gone through and I've kind of cleaned things up a bit. We're still going to have the occasional error, but like I said, that's not really a big deal. It's just a region check. So if you end up having some sort of an exclamation mark in front of your folders, just take a look to see if the error is this in fact, and just make sure the game runs. If it runs, you're totally fine. If it doesn't, then you're going to have to adjust the names accordingly. But what we're going to do is we're going to move along. Now, if we want to add our own game here, we can do it right through the desktop app. This isn't one that I would actually recommend doing, especially if you want to load a bunch of games. But if there's only 1 or 2 new titles you want to add, you can do it right here. You go ahead and hit the plus button. It's going to then create a new folder. It's actually going to pop up a picture and game INI helper. We're not going to use that first. What we need to do is first add in our game files. So we're going to go to our file list. We're going to hit the add file. Then what we need to do is navigate to where we actually have all of our game files. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and move over there. I'm going to go ahead and select Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Returns. We're going to hit open. What's going to happen is it's going to then import that game. This will take just a few minutes. It's going to go ahead and copy it into the application. Once that little box disappears, we know that the application has now been loaded up into here. But you'll notice there's no artwork, there's no metadata, there's nothing here. We have to manually scrape this. And to do that, we just need to go down to this bottom button right here where it says Edit Game and Box Art. We're going to go ahead and hit that. That's where our picture and game INI helper window is going to come up and come into handy. And what we're going to need to do is go down below to the search section, and we're going to go ahead and search Tomba and hit search. Now this is going to give us the option to search in a few different areas. So we've got the PSX Data Center, which is an amazing resource. It's going to give us all the artwork, all the metadata, and everything that we need. But for whatever reason, if it's down, we also have the option as a backup to use the Games DB. Now, like I said, I searched Tomba, and we are going to see Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Returns. We're going to double click on that. It's going to actually open up that web page over on the right-hand side. And then we're going to see all the information. We're going to see the box art. We're going to have all the data. We're going to have the publisher, the release date, all that information. What we want to do is we want to move it over to the game.ini file, and we want to move over the artwork as well. There's going to be a blue button right over here where it says copy information. And if you keep an eye on the game.ini section, I'm going to go ahead and press this, and you're going to see everything is going to then populate and fill in properly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there we go. Now we've got the proper name, the proper disk information. We've got the publisher, the developer, the number of players, and the published year. So that's all done. Next, we have to select the image. Now there's 2 options. You can actually import the image the way it is, or you can import the image keeping its current aspect ratio. It doesn't really matter what you do. You're going to have a slight difference between the two. So if you see, I just copied the image as is, and if I hit the aspect ratio, it kind of adjusts it so it looks proper. It's entirely up to you. I mean, it doesn't really make much of a difference. I'm just going to leave this the way that is, but we're not quite done here. So first, we need to go ahead and save the image, and we need to save the game.ini. So first, we'll hit Save As, it's going to automatically take us to the new folder that we've created. We want to leave the name as game.ini. We're going to hit save. And now we've created our game.ini folder. And then if we want to save that image, same process, we're going to hit save as. It's going to automatically grab the disk name .png, and it's going to give us the proper folder as well. We're going to hit save, and then we are good to go. So now if we hit back, it's actually going to take us back in here. You're going to see that we have the game here, we have the PNG, and we have the game.ini. And immediately we are going to get an error. And the reason that error is coming into place is because if you remember way back in the early days when we were setting things up and we had to do all this sort of stuff manually, we had to make sure that the image name and the PBP, or the image name and the bin queue, are all identical. Obviously, the name of the image is not the same as the PBP, so we either need to change the PBP or we need to change the image. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and change the PBP name because I think that's probably going to be the best way to go. But once we go ahead and select it and hit rename, then we can go ahead and change that right over here. We can paste in the serial number of the disk. We can go ahead and allow that to be the change. And now you can see everything is good. We no longer have an error. There's no issues detected. We're actually pretty good to go. And that's going to be the same problem that we have in some of these other areas where they say that the naming isn't right, or the PBP and the game.ini is not correct. That's how you would fix it. But in this case, we are good. We've got Tomba 2 now installed and ready to go. Now, this is all great specifically for PlayStation games. The problem here is that the point of this application was to help us with desktop management and to help us with folder management and things like that. So right out of the gate, I don't have anything else other than PlayStation games here, which is going to be a problem. First thing that we want to do is go to File, and we want to scan our ROMs directory. Now, it's going to give us three different options. We've got RetroArch, which is going to scan all of our RetroArch folders. We have Drastic, which is important to scan after you've done RetroArch, so that way it converts any Nintendo DS games to run out of the Drastic emulator, the standalone Drastic emulator. And the same is going to be true for PSP. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And what's going to end up happening is it's just going to jump onto the USB drive and it's going to start scanning. And once it comes up to a game, it's going to say, hey, I recognize this game. I understand where it's from. It's obviously for Sega Genesis. Is this the correct artwork? And this is going to be a little bit more of a tedious process. So we actually have to manually accept every single game that comes along. In this case, it is correct. We're going to hit OK. Then it's going to go to the next game, and this is acceptable. And we just have to keep doing this for all of the games. Now, I'm actually going to run into an area where it's going to say, hey, we've actually got a couple of different options. We aren't sure. And this is why I wanted to show you this. So if it's not sure of what the game is supposed to be, for example, let's say Aladdin pops up for Sega Genesis. It's going to say, is it the Aladdin Sega Genesis game, or is this Aladdin 2 for Super Nintendo from some sort of a Sega Genesis Capcom port? What we want to do is we want to select the correct version. Obviously, this is the Disney's Aladdin. We want to select that, and we can go ahead and accept it. So this is another situation that I was talking about. If you end up doing a search and it actually comes back with no results, it's simply because it's having a hard time identifying the game based off of how much information we're providing. So what we may actually end up needing to do is scale back. We're going to delete everything except for Spider-Man and try searching again. And as you can see, now we actually have the game. And in this case, it's identified as Venom-Spider-Man Separation Anxiety. That's the game that we want. We're going to hit accept, and then we're going to move on to the next game. Okay, so now that we've gone through all of our RetroArch folders, you're going to see if we scroll down, you're going to have all of your games there. Here's some TurboGrafx games. Here's Game Boy Advance. We've got some Game Boy games. They're all going to be populated in numerical order. As you can see, each new game is identified as a new folder. But one of the important things to note is that we did not scan any of our Nintendo DS or our PSP. So we need to go back into File. We need to go over to Scan ROMs folder. We need to go to Scan Drastic. And we're going to do the same process. It's going to ask us to scan our Nintendo DS games, and we're going to go ahead and match box art with them. And I'm going to do this for both the Nintendo DS as well as the PSP, and then I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to that as well. Okay, so we are finally finished. We've gone ahead and scanned all of our RetroArch games, all of our Nintendo DS games, and all of our PSP games. And I do have to say, this is a very tedious task. Luckily, we only have to do it the one time. And anytime that we add new games, we can manually scrape just those games. So it's not quite so painful the second or third time that we have to go in and make any changes. That being said, once we are happy with all of our games being loaded up into our left column, there are a few other things that we want to do before we export it out to USB or before we actually start doing any folder management. If we go over to our tools section, you're going to see that we have a bunch of different options in here. We have check bins, we have memory card manager, we have a launcher manager, we have a mods cloud, and we have a themes cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how you would add a theme. We're going to go ahead and click on the themes cloud, and this will be the same for anything else, whether it's a mod that you're looking for or anything else. You would just select the associated item that you're interested in, and then it'll give you a predefined list of available options. So in this case, we have 5 different themes. We've got the cerulean theme, and if we scroll down, we can kind of get like a little bit of a teaser as to what that looks like. We've got the PlayStation Classic Anniversary, which is going to look more like this. I actually do like that styling quite a bit. There's also the PlayStation Classic Darkening, which is going to look more like this, which is pretty cool too. We have one called Retro Wave, which looks very 80s inspired, if you kind of know what I mean. It's kind of got that retro vibe. And then we have a Yasui Japan theme, which I haven't actually seen, but it's just another option that you can go ahead and check out. Now for this, I'm actually going to go ahead and grab the PlayStation Classic Darkening. I like this theme. I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. As you can see, it's going to start downloading from the cloud server directly to our build. Once it's done, that little copying screen is going to disappear. And that's it. Now it's ready to go. We've downloaded that theme. And once we transfer everything to our USB and we turn on our PlayStation Classic, we're going to have access to it and we can go ahead and make that change in the settings. Next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our mods cloud. The same thing is going to be true. You're going to have access to all of your mods here, and the system's actually going to be very much the same. You're going to download it. It's going to dump it onto the USB drive when you export everything, and it's going to put it all into the proper folder. Now, you're still going to have to go back and add game files and things like that, but this is just going to be an all-in-one solution if you are interested in grabbing something. Now going back to the launchers manager, if we click on that, it's going to give us all of the launchers or the ports that we've installed. But let's say you install the port and you don't really want it to be visible anywhere. You don't think you're going to use it very often, and you actually just want to hide it overall from the UI. You can go ahead and grab one, for example, Windows 3.1. We can go ahead and move that over to the hidden launchers. And now it doesn't matter where you go on your Classic, you're not going to be able to see this icon. So I don't actually want to do that. I'm going to keep all my ports together, and that's going to be for a specific reason when we get into folders. But you do have the option to hide your launchers if you don't want them visible, or you don't like the games and you don't want to uninstall them. Now, just quickly before we jump into some actual folder manager support, there are a couple other options here. If we go to options, you've got compress images, and you've also got the explore by directory. And if you wanted to actually get into your USB drive in a specific area, you could click one of these and it'll take you directly into the area that you want. For example, if you're going to be adding a game to your launchers, you can go ahead and click the launchers folder. It's going to open up directly into your launchers directory, and then you can go ahead and add your game data this way. And that just makes things a little bit easier moving forward if you are going to go ahead and add those game files. And then we've also got a help section, which just pretty much gives you access to their support center. So you can go to a support chat room. You can also access their website or hop right onto Discord. And then there's also things like bugs. So if you notice a bug and you want to register it, you can go ahead and do that through the help section as well. Okay, so now that we're happy with the way everything is, we've picked up all of the packages that we want. Now all that's left for us to do is go and generate the database. Now I will mention, if you press this and you get an error, it's likely because one of your games is not formatted correctly, and whether that be to edit the game.ini, or if that's going to be to edit the actual bin queue names or the PNG, whatever it happens to be, you're going to have to sort that out first, because it will not allow you to go and generate a database unless everything is properly set up. But mine is all good. I don't have any of those asterisks or exclamation marks or any other errors. I can go ahead and hit generate database, and it's going to automatically pull up our folder manager before we do that. So it's important to note that what we want to do is take a look at all of our games. We've got everything over here, and we have an automatic button. So if we go ahead and hit automatic, it's going to do its best to try to filter things based off of what it thinks it should be in. And as you can see, if we go ahead and select the PSP folder, it'll put in those PSP games just like we would want. That being said, you're also going to notice a couple things are a little bit weird here. You're going to see we have 2 folders called Game Boy / Game Boy Color / Game Boy Advance. And when we click on the first one, it's going to have both of our Game Boy Color games. And when we click on the second one, it's only going to have our Game Boy Advanced games, which can be problematic as well. So what we're going to want to do is potentially break this up into 2 different folders, one Game Boy folder, one Game Boy Color folder. And then additionally for here, this has Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. We don't want Game Boy Color listed in there. We just want that to be Game Boy Advance. So in the column just to the right of it, we can go ahead and delete that. And once we go ahead and make that change, it'll automatically change it here. And you'll notice that all the games in this section are Game Boy Advance, so that's fine. But we do have both Game Boy and Game Boy Color games here. Starting over here is our Game Boy Colors. So what we're going to want to do is remove those games from the selected list. And then we're going to want to create a new folder. And we're going to call this new folder Game Boy Color. Perfect. And then from here, what we need to do is select those games and move them over. So I believe it started at number 141, Disney's Aladdin. And we're just going to go ahead and select all the Game Boy Color games just by shift clicking on all of those games there. Once we are happy with it, we can move them over. And now those games are going to be inside the Game Boy Color folder. What we'll alternatively need to do is go over here. We're going to get rid of Game Boy Color from the title. And we're going to go ahead and grab all of these games. And we're going to go ahead and remove them from the list. So now we have Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, all in their own dedicated folders. But we are still going to have a couple other issues. So we've got over here TurboGrafx, which looks like it's okay. We've got Nintendo 64. Again, that looks fine. Super Nintendo looks okay. Regular Nintendo. And then we've got the Sega 8 16-bit Various. And that's going to be problematic because we do have Sega CD and we also have Sega Genesis. So the Sega CD games, I don't have many. I think I've only got about 4. Those are going to be the last 4, 89, 90, 91, 92. So we're going to go ahead and grab Sonic to Mortal Kombat. We're going to remove those games. And then we are going to relabel this to Sega Genesis. We're going to be okay with that. Then we're going to create a new folder and we're going to call this Sega CD. And then once that's created, we just need to grab those games again. And they should be right over here. So we've got Sonic CD up to Mortal Kombat. We're going to move those into that folder. And now we're pretty much done. I've created my folders based off of the console in which they are. You can set them up any way you want. If you want to have things organized by certain genres, you can do that. I'm just going to have them set up by console. Next, what we want to do is assign artwork. All we're going to need to do is select Browse Picture, and then we're going to have access to a bunch of different artwork here. So there's going to be a bunch for different consoles. Now this should be available in the newest version, but if it's not, you can just leave a comment in the comment section below and we'll get you sorted out. But essentially you should have access to pretty much all of the major consoles that you can think of. There's going to be pretty much everything from Atari all the way up to your PlayStation games. So in this case, we are looking for PlayStation, so that's what we're going to take a peek for. So I've got it right over here. I'm going to go ahead and hit open, and that's what our PlayStation folder is going to look like. We'll do the same with Genesis. We're going to browse for picture. We're going to go ahead down to our S section and look for Sega Genesis. Here it is. We're going to hit OK, and that's our Sega Genesis folder. And we're just going to do the exact same process for all of our different consoles. Here's our regular Nintendo folder. We're going to do the same for Super Nintendo and then all the rest. Now I'm just going to quickly fast forward through this process as well. Okay, so I've selected all my folder art. As you can see, everything is now properly assigned and we are good to go. Now, if you want to create your own folder art, you can do that. There is access to the blank folders and you can adjust things and do whatever you want. Essentially, you can throw whatever image you want in here so long as it's a PNG. But now we've got all of our games, we've got all of our folders created, all of the appropriate games are within the appropriate folder, and all that's really left is to make a couple adjustments in terms of how we want things visually displayed on our actual console. So the first thing that we're going to have to choose is, do you want a folder that is specifically for your launchers? Launchers are going to be your ports, so that's going to be things like Jazz Jackrabbit or Doom or any of those sort of things. If you choose not to assign a specific folder to those, what's going to end up happening is that those ports will be visible on every single folder page and every single navigation page. So personally, I would recommend creating a new folder specifically called ports. We're going to hit new folder, we're going to call it ports. And we don't actually need to do anything else here. We can go ahead and assign just some random photo that we think would be good for it. I'm just going to go ahead and select this one right over here where it looks like it's a bunch of blank icons. We're going to select that. Then we can go over to our launchers dropdown and then we can look for that ports folder and select it. And we're pretty much good to go. Additionally, you can also choose a home folder, and that's actually going to say, hey, when you launch your console for the first time, which folder do you want it to go to? So if you want it to go directly into PlayStation, you can set that as your home folder, and that's where you'll launch into every time that you launch Project Eris. Now, there is an option additionally to display a home link. That's only going to be applicable if you've created a home folder, in which case you'll have links that'll go back to your home folder whenever you want from any of the other folders that you're in. But that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and hit generate. It's going to go ahead and start generating those files. It's going to do the database, and it's done actually quite quickly. As you can see, the job is now complete, and you can properly unplug your USB drive, plug it into your PlayStation Classic, and we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so here we are back on the boot menu. Obviously nothing looks different, and if you guys remember, I did install a new theme. That's not going to be visible right out of the gate, but if we go into our L1 settings, we are going to then be able to locate our themes, and we can go ahead and switch those over. So you can see I've got my stock theme, I had my Mod My Classic, but I also have this new PlayStation Classic darkening theme. So if I go ahead and select that and I hit save and reset, it's going to say, are you sure you want to do this? The console is going to have to shut down. I am going to do that and say yes, and I'll just be back in a quick second. Perfect, so here we are back on our new theme, and I actually like this one quite a bit. It looks pretty cool. So if you guys haven't checked these themes out, definitely give them a shot. Obviously, we still have RetroArch, we've got Project Eris, we've got Emulation Station, and we've got our PPSSPP standalone emulator. But obviously what we want to check out is the new folder support that we created. We're going to go ahead and jump into Project Eris. And here we are, we're automatically loaded up into our main navigation menu. We've got access to all of our ports here, we've got all of our settings here, but most importantly, we have all of our folders. So let's say we wanted to jump into some N64 games. We're gonna go ahead and select that folder. And now the only things that should be visible here are gonna be all of our other folders to navigate back into, but we'll also have only the Nintendo 64 games visible in the carousel. So that's actually really handy. We're going to go ahead and check out one more as well. Let's take a peek at maybe TurboGrafx 16. And here we are. So as you can see, we've got a ton of games listed up in the carousel. They're all going to be visible, and you can actually launch them directly from here, and it'll kick you straight into RetroArch on the proper core, and the games will run right out of the gate. So that's really nice. Now, if you did want to go back, you would just go over to your port section or your port folder. So when we scroll on over, we're going to see over here, we've got things like RetroArch, we've got our PPSSPP, Open Bore. So you're going to have access to your game manager. You're also going to have access to your folder menu, and that's going to be helpful if there is something that you want to adjust. For example, your PlayStation games, if we take a peek at that, you can actually go ahead and add and remove additional games from here. What you'll notice is out of the gate, all of these games are going to be the games that you added onto the console. They're not going to be the built-in games. And if you want to add the internal games, the 20 built-in games to your PlayStation list, you just have to hit triangle, and you just have to enable pretty much all of these guys as well. And in order to do that, I think you just press the L1 button. It selects all those games, and then if you're happy with that, you press start, and now you'll see that we no longer have 69 games, we have 89 games, and all of our games will be available in the PlayStation folder. Now, if we exit out of the folder manager without selecting another folder, we're going to have everything that we've put onto our USB drive visible on the carousel. So this is where you would see everything kind of mixed in together. We've got our PlayStation games, Game Boy, we've got our TurboGrafx, we've pretty much got all of our games here. I do want to say the more you have, the slower and clunkier it's going to be. It's also kind of annoying to have to go through this giant list in order to find something that you want. So definitely you're going to want to use the filtering system or the folder system. But that's more or less it. I don't have much else for you. This was a very long tutorial, and hopefully you guys were able to make it through. If there's any specific questions that you guys have, please let me know in the comment section below. Additionally, I always leave links to the Mod My Classic Discord. They have a whole support section that's going to be there to help you guys if you guys need it or run into any major problems. But like I said, that's more or less it. Consider subscribing to the channel, give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like it. But thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys again real soon.